Hey everybody, how's it going? Octopus here and welcome back to Union Cross. So, this is going to be Illustrated Vivi's Metal Spotlight video, but before I do it, I do owe you guys a poll from yesterday. I said I was going to poll once a day every time I make a video, and I didn't post yesterday's. So at the beginning of this video, we're going to do one Axel poll, and then at the end of the video, we're going to do the poll for today's video. So this is supposed to be yesterday's when I did the update, totally forgot. So much information, so much new updates, and I was just like, oh shit, I totally forgot to give you guys that poll. So this is poll number 3. So a lot of people are lucky on poll number 3, so hopefully this is Axel here, because that would just be great. Look at that, it's reverse, we're on the right track. Now we just need to be, I don't think it has to be 2 6-stars, but Sephiroth is fine with me. That's my 3rd copy of Sephiroth, and I don't think any of them are orbed, so that's totally okay. So 3rd poll, not my lucky poll. Everybody else said they got in the first 3. Everybody else, meaning like a small group that just posts everything. It makes you feel like you can get it, but you can't. But anyways, that's the poll from yesterday. And then hopefully I remember to do the last poll at the end of this video. So let's go back to what this video is about. It's about Illustrated Vivi and how powerful he is. Or at least in certain situations. So now Illustrated Vivi itself is this one. Well, I don't know why it's this one, it's a locked one. But Illustrated Vivi itself is really good, and there's some things that you guys just don't actually realize by just reading the medal. Like, let's go with 3 attacks. What does that mean if I get double cast on it? Is it bad? No, double cast is probably the best thing you guys can get on this, because if you take a normal Vivi, it'll do +3, +3, +3, but if you take a double cast Vivi, it does +3, +6, +3. So why wouldn't you get extra attacks so at least one of those medals has an extra 6 boost on it? Which is like the best trait to get on this guy no matter what you do. The only other thing I could think of is going for an attack medal, because self-buffing and having 2 -60 traits or 2 + 1000, it doesn't matter what you get as long as you boost his attack. Him alone, fully guilted with good traits for attacking, will do a lot of damage. Nothing crazy like other medals with high multipliers, but for somebody who doesn't have a guilted medal or something that's really good, him just by himself, nothing else on the medal, with -60 and -60 will do so much damage. And I'm not talking about Coliseum, I'm talking about for anyone that just wants to pass events, story mode, proud plus. This medal alone with those traits will do really good. But for Vivi itself, I personally think that double cast is the best thing possible, and throughout this video I'm going to talk about it. Alright, so we're going to end up doing traits first. We can't really guilt him because it's only the first week, but I want to get this out there for people to know what he's what he's capable of doing. So before I do start this, 0.2 Kairi kind of replaces him if you think about it, because Kairi will give you a ×6 strength buff. She will buff your PSM up by 1 and lower the enemy's PSM defense down by 1 as well, with also the defense debuff. But the point is that she has a majority of what he has and just is more solid. So Vivi's like an early access to 0.2 Kairi in a way. Not really, because again, him by himself can give you full buffs of attribute and strength. Well, almost full, because it's ×7, but he does ×6 for 1 medal, and that's all you really need. But 0.2 Kairi will do that for everybody, and she'll fit anywhere as well. Especially if you get extra attack on her. It's a little harder because VIP, you can buy it and do all your traits, but 0.2 Kairi will do what this guy does for free-to-play players. So you don't have to worry as a free-to-play player that you didn't get this. It's totally fine, because 0.2 Kairi, if it's a mercy pull, will totally take care of you compared to having one of these. And a lot of people might not even use Vivi if they don't get extra attack on it, just because of that sense that 0.2 Kairi has your ×6 buff. So why would you use a Vivi just for that ×3 buff, which you can use on like an Illustrated Roxas, I believe. Illustrated Roxas. There's a lot of ×3 tribute buffers out there, and there will be more. So you don't need this medal, but the medal, if you do get extra attack, is going to be really game changing for a lot of people until those medals come out. So you don't have to worry about missing this one, you don't have to buy it. But let's go over the traits, let's go over what skills, so on and so on. So obviously I'm gonna start the video off with traits. So this is the first trait roll, again hoping for extra attack. Extra attack is the best thing to go for. If not extra attack, if you want more of a defensive medal, 800 HP, 2000 defense, so on and so on. And we got poison resist. Poison resist. Oh, man. I don't think this is going to go good. This is definitely not going to go good. I don't want to fuse my next one because I want to show examples in this video. So this is the only 2 I'm going to fuse right now. And then we'll see what happens next week if I had to buy the VIP again to fully show what this guy's capable with extra attack. Sleep resist. Oh my god, I got the 2 worst things you guys can get. Don't forget as well, high score challenge could be around the corner. So keep 3 copies, keep 4 copies. I would keep all 4. But definitely, that is probably the worst thing that could happen. And that could happen to everybody. So, let's talk about the medal on its Keyblade setups. And I'll show you some high tier Coliseum kind of, level 200. Not really high tier, but high enough to actually show this medal shine. So I'm going to show you some equipment. I'm going to show you some setups. And then we're going to talk about what he's really capable of. Alright, so this is going to be the basics of Illustrated Vivi. I'm going to show you guys how exactly his attack works for 3 attacks, what you can and cannot do. So here's an enemy. It's a level 461 Armored Warrior. So Vivi, when we activate him right now, you're going to see my buff goes to ×3 on everything. Now that carries over to this guy and then carry overs to the 3rd guy. Obviously I don't have extra attack to show you guys the rest, but Vivi by itself will take care of buffs for itself and the next 2 medals. So you saw all of this, I have my buffs, and now my buffs are no longer there. So that shows you that it carries for his attack, next attack, and the 3rd attack. It does not go any further than that. It counts for itself, so don't forget that. Another thing to take into mind with Illustrated Vivi, this is all the basic things you guys got to know about 3 attack medals, is when you do his attack, and let's say you have no other ×3 strength buffers on there, you guys know that ×3 buffs work with Nova. So if you use your ×3 buffers or ×6 buffers, your Nova will do more damage. So let's say I do Illustrated Vivi, I buff this, and I know next turn this is going to end. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to kick in my Nova right now, and then use my last medal, and hopefully that kills him. But look at my character. My character no longer has any buffs on there, because Nova counts as an attack. So don't forget, you have to use your Nova before you use your Illustrated Vivi, because your next medal, that's the last medal, will not get the buff. So take that in mind, that using Nova takes away one of those attacks. It counts as an attack. So using 3 attack medals, you really got to work around Nova. I've shown some strategies that you don't need Nova in Coliseum. I made top 1000 in Coliseum without using Nova. So technically, it depends what situation you are, but that can really hurt if you really need Nova to finish off an enemy, and your Illustrated Vivi is only good for those 3 attacks for those 3 medals. But let's go back into this and let's switch it around. So I'm not going to survive the attack, but you guys saw, actually let's just throw in another medal here. I'm going to throw in my Kyrie 2 just to have second chance, because I want to show you guys another basic thing about 3 attack medals. Now 3 attack medals literally mean 3 attacks, so it's kind of better than 1 turn medals in a sense. If your next medal on your Keyblade, like let's say your first medal on your Keyblade is a strong medal and the multiplier is strong, you can technically buff that medal. Now let me show you what I mean. So now that I have Illustrated Vivi on the second last slot, it's going to buff itself, it's going to buff my last medal, and since we're doing Coliseum, there's no friend medal, so what happens to that 3rd attack? Well, it carries over to the next turn, because it says 3 attacks. It doesn't say for 1 turn, 2 turns, it says for 3 attacks. So technically, it's good for this medal that would have been right here. See how I still have the ×6 buffer there? So it's really, really, really good. Why do I have a ×6 buff? Oh, my key art copied it. So there you go. If I had extra attack, there you go. I don't know why I totally threw off there, but my buff carried over to this medal here, and because I use an extra Vivi, it carries over to the second one. So technically using 2 Vivis on the end of the Keyblade or using a friend medal Vivi will kind of be good for 2 turning enemies, because you can go full rotation, activate your friend medal Vivi, and the first 2 medals in your Keyblade setup will get that buff, especially if it's a extra attack Vivi. Sharing Vivi's a good thing for a lot of situations, so you could have buffs all around the entire Keyblade setup because you have a friend Vivi shared. So keep that in mind. Vivi counts as 3 attacks. It doesn't count your turns. So having him at the end of the Keyblade will do something, or as a friend medal will carry over for your first medals to do damage as well, which will come up later on as we get better Keyblade slots. We do have some right now, but you need appropriate medals with it, so on and so on. But that's another basic thing about 3 attack medals like Illustrated Vivi. Its attack carries over to the next turn as long as there's attacks left. So if you didn't have let's say my Kiara beginnings there had extra attack, it would actually steal one of those attacks, or if you have a friend middle, it would steal one of those attacks. But for Coliseum wise, for 2-turning or anything you have to 2-turn, the attacks will carry over until it's done. So that is 3 basic things about Vivi. Vivi Nova takes away an attack, it'll carry over itself and the next 2 medals, and if you had extra attack on it, then this medal right here, so when you switch it back up, if this had extra attack, again, it would attack itself, buff by 3, do it again, have a ×6 buff for itself, and a ×6 buff for this, and a ×3 buff for this. So that means extra attack is one of the best things you can get, because this medal will get an extra boost for having Vivi with extra attack, which is better than just ×3, ×3, and then ×3. So extra attack is the best trade to put on there. Now let's go into some setups and show you the difference in power this guy can do. Alright, with the same level, I'm going to show you my basic Divine Roll setup. ×3 buffer, I would use Illustrated Bell and Beast, but for the sake of everybody else, I'm going to show a ×3 buffer because it makes more sense. So, Illustrated Kairi 2, and then my 3 medals to take down this guy. Now, this setup's way overboard for this enemy, but I just want to show you the difference in power. Now, right here, we're going to go for our ×3 buff. We can't take away any of these buffs. We're not using Illustrated Bell and Beast. We're going to use our Illustrated Kairi, and then we're going to activate Donald. Now watch Donald. Donald's doing 8,949 damage. And then Copycat Donald is doing 27,500. So let's change that around and let's add the Vivi to this. So we're going to add Vivi instead of Kairi here, because this is the whole point of Vivi. Vivi does exactly what Kairi does, just a little bit better. Now, when I say a little bit better, it's only a little bit because it's only for 3 attacks, where Kairi can be placed anywhere. But Vivi is actually a lot better to use than Kairi 2 in some situations like this, where there's only this one enemy and you want the most damage possible. So even though my Xigbar B is not going to get the boost, I don't really need it when it comes to certain situations. Especially if I already have a ×3 buffer over there, it's totally fine. So Donald did 8,900. Now he's doing 14,000 damage compared to being buffed with Illustrated Kairi 2. And this was doing 27,500. It's now doing 42,450. And technically, I don't even need Xigbar to be boosted by Vivi either, because there you go, it finished it off. So, you guys can see Illustrated Vivi, especially if it had extra attack, my Donald there on the 3rd slot would be doing some crazy damage if it was properly set up with extra attack Vivi. Now, you guys can go even crazier than this, and you can do, if you had extra attack on here, back here you could put a general defense down medal, because you don't even need a ×3 buffer when you have a medal that lowers defense. Technically, later on you will, but for anybody else, not Coliseum wise, any other quest, any other situation, Vivi is really, really good, and it also restores 5 SP, so it takes Illustrated Kairi's 2 place in certain situations. So that's another thing you guys gotta take. If you're using Vivi early as well, you do technically need a ×3 buffer, so your last medal and your friend medal can get a ×3 buff, because that's a lot of damage. At a certain point, enemies' defenses, you need that ×3 strength buff. You can get away with a lot without using ×3 strength buffs on some level enemies, some quests, some story mode, but eventually you're going to need that ×3 buff on all your medals. But if you use a Vivi in the beginning of your Keyblade, you want to pair it up with another ×3 buffer. If your Vivi has extra attack, you can kind of get away with just these 2 slots doing all the damage. Now, I'm going to show you guys other setups that are more advanced that can show you how to beat stuff with just 2 or 3 medals. Alright, so now we got 2 copies of Vivi. I'm not going to show you guys the first 2 slots of what to put in, because you can literally put anything you guys want. General defense down, you can put attributes down, whatever you guys need to do, because your last medal is going to get all the buffs it needs. A ×6 strength buff and a ×6 attribute buff. So it's getting ×6, as you guys can see above my character, meaning Xigbar is going to do 1 giant hit. And now all we got to do is complement that hit with more debuffs before, because we no longer need a ×3 buffer or ×6 buffer, and we no longer need an attribute buffer. So now our first 2 slots are free to do whatever they want. Alright, so in this example, I'm going to use magic defense down to attack this enemy because Vivi takes care of everything else. So I don't need Kyrie, I don't need Ariel and Flounder, I don't need Sebastian, I don't need Illustrated Bell and Beast. Obviously, Illustrated Bell and Beast would be better to take away his buffs there, but let's just lower some buffs while we're at it. So this is going to lower the magic by 2 tiers, and then another 2 tiers. Obviously, there's better examples, there's going to be better medals in this, but I just want to show you this is kind of the general idea. So now that we got it lowered by 2, we're down to 1 because he had a 3 buff. But now Vivi is going to do the rest here. Vivi's going to buff it, double Vivi, and then Zigbar. Last time we got to 13 bars of HP, now we're dropping this guy down to 8. So that's with the tribute debuff. You guys can do better than that, especially if you have extra attack on some of these medals or you have defense down by 3 tiers. But that's for a tribute. I'm going to show you guys, replace these with some general defense down medals now. Now, if you have Maleficent Dragon, you guys would be doing some crazy damage AoE groups. So let's pretend this is Maleficent Dragon kind of setup. So I'm going to put these 2 here because they both lower general defense down by 2 tiers. So that's 4 general defense down and 6 strength up and 6 attribute up. So we're near perfect buffs and debuffs. Especially again, if you get extra attack on some of these medals, you can literally get away with 1 Illustrated Donald, -4 general defense down, and then another medal that says attribute defense down by 2 tiers with extra attack. You can have almost perfect buffs and debuffs on any setup because of Illustrated Vivi, especially if your Illustrated Vivi has extra attack. So this enemy is kind of a bad example because it has its own buffs on it, but either way, it's still the general idea of how much buffs and debuffs you can put on, because there we go, we dropped more HP. Depending on the enemy, some enemies general defense down is better, some is attribute down better. It depends on the level. But I'm just showing you guys how many buffs and debuffs you can fit into a Keyblade just because of Illustrated Vivi. And obviously, if mine had extra attack, this would be another slot right here. Now, let me really talk about that. So you take away this, and let's just add another medal that does, well, let me just add a copycat medal because I don't have any more medals that are going to fit on here properly. So technically, right now, I have a -6 general defense down. And if my Vivi, this is going to be the best thing you guys can do. If you have a Maleficent Dragon, you have multiple copies of it. Or if you don't have multiple copies, but you have Nominate here, Maleficent Dragon here, and then one of my key arts like this, Beginning, Bonds, or Sky, which is this one. You guys can copy Maleficent Dragon, so you can do a -6 general defense down AoE, and if your Vivi had extra attack, that's +6 up for both attacks. So you would have near perfect buffs and debuffs, not including the tribute debuff, but in Coliseum, general defense down is going to do a lot for you. After a certain point, like really high, that's the best thing to do. It's better to mix them at certain levels as well, but the whole point is that if this was an extra attack Vivi, I would activate it again, and this Zigbar would have a ×3 buff or ×6 buff for strength and attribute, and the crazy damage would just one-shot this guy, guaranteed. Because right here, without the extra ×6 strength buff and ×6 attribute buff, he's doing a little bit less damage, but if Vivi had that extra attack on him, you guys would see how much damage would be coming out just from one medal. And obviously in Coliseum setups, there's better setups than this, so this is not like the best situation. I just want to show you guys all the different setups you can do with Vivi. So Vivi is really good, especially if you get extra attack, because the 3 medals behind it can be whatever you want, because your 1 nuke medal can do a ton of damage. Now let me show you a really proper setup. Now, I was using a setup to get up to this point, and Vivi there has been rocking this Coliseum without a problem, because my medals do have -60 on them, traits, so I don't need general defense down medals just yet. So this is working out really good. But what I want to show you guys is what Illustrated Vivi can do with a proper setup, so I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm going to show you my Sleeping Lion setup. If I had extra attack on Vivi, the setup would look something like this. You take away this Vivi, and again, I would add a copycat medal. The same idea for Maleficent Dragon if I had one. Basically, I'm copying my -2 speed defense down. So what's going to end up happening here is that I'm going to have like perfect buffs again. So let me just show you, go into this mission right here. On my last medal on a 2.7 slot with a really powerful multiplier. Right here, I'm going to get the enemy to go down by 6 tiers of speed. Again, this guy has buffs, so it's a really bad example, but I'm going to show you anyways. So right here, we have times 6 down. It's only gonna do times 3 because how many buffs he had. But if this Vivi had extra attack, the amount of damage this sword would do to this guy is gonna be ridiculous. Either way, it shows how much this is capable here. Now let me take into one of the missions where it's actually all magic enemies. So it's not AoE, but I'm still gonna show it off just because of how much you can do here. I believe most of these guys are ground. So right here, we're gonna go the times 2 down for speed, another times 2 down for speed. This might do some damage, but that's okay. And another times 2 down for speed. So now these guys have negative speed down by 6 tiers. Vivi, if this was extra attack, would do 6 times up, and then Sora would just blow, take it out. It's gonna take it out anyways, but you guys can see the possibilities with Vivi if you had extra attack on him. Even without extra attack, let's just go out of here and come back in and put that Vivi back there. So this is why it's also a good idea not to fuse all of them together. Even if you don't get extra attack, keep them separate because 2 Vivis will still do a ton of damage. And I don't know how to have to set this. Newest. Actually, Vivi should be on the top. Oh wait, no, it's blue. It's blue. Alright, so let's put another Vivi back in there and let's try that one more time. So Vivi over here is now going to give my Sora a times 6, and I'm only going to have a times 4 defense down. Now let's say I had something else and KR9 was my last medal instead of that sword there. Technically I can get away with using 2 Vivis here because these 2 medals would be down by 2 tiers, and then when I use KR9 at the end of the Keyblade slot, it would be down by 2 more, so that'd be 6 tiers down for speed. But I couldn't find any medals that did that in my inventory, so I can't really show it off. But with the times 6, look at the damage. The damage is ridiculous, so that's why I'm hoping I'll get extra attack on him. Even without extra attack, at level 460, this setup can really pass everything. Now again, it's situational what buffs you have and debuffs you have, but Vivi basically takes care of all the buffs for you. It's a times 6 buffer for both strength and attribute, even luckier if you had that extra attack. I think Sora's enough here to take this out with all that. Yeah, way more than enough damage. And again, if that was KR9 and I had other medals that did buffs and debuffs, you guys would see how much damage I would be doing here. I'm not going to one-turn all this. I just want to show you that this setup, as ugly as it looks with 2 Vivis in the middle there, this is a really good setup to do as well. And there's so many more that I'm probably not touching on, but I just wanted to show you the basics of how Illustrated Vivi works. There we go. Way overboard. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to one-turn the Armored Warrior. But having the proper Keyblade setup with Vivi on Coliseum makes a huge difference. And when you're not using a Coliseum setup, let's go talk about a high score challenge setup just to end this video off, because that's Coliseum. You don't have to deal with your friend medal, because now if you deal with your friend medal, Vivi kind of has to sit over here to buff this guy and buff your friend medal if you need help from your friend medal. So having these 2 here will give this guy a good buff, and then this guy will get a times 3 buff, which is really good. Or pushing them back here 2 times, these 2 medals will get a good buff. So I'll go buff, buff. This guy will get times 6. This guy will get times 3. That's another setup you guys can do. Obviously, I wouldn't use this here. I would use something else that lowers defense or attribute. Obviously, like, I don't know. That's what I mean. There was nothing really in my inventory that did speed down by itself that carried over. So I didn't really want to do it. I could have done that, but that's 1 up, 1 down. Not that big, exciting. Because the other situations I'm talking about are like, you have buffers that do times 3, like this Roxas here. But now we don't need Roxas because Vivi does all that for us for every kind of Keyblade setup. But high score challenges. Let's talk about high score challenges. So during a high score challenge, we're always going to use the Divine Rose as long as the formula stays the same. Single hit medals do a lot of damage. So you can technically go into a high score challenge with this setup right here. If your Vivi had extra attack, Zaldin B would get a times 6 strength buff and times 6 attribute buff and do 1 giant hit. And these 3 spaces right here will literally be your percentage medals. Nothing else needs to go on this Keyblade setup. You don't need Illustrated Kari, you don't need Illustrated Bell and Beast, you don't need Ariel and Flounder, you don't need Sebastian, you don't need Illustrated Kari 2 because he restores gauges, so he is amazing for taking up 2 slots on a high score challenge run. Because those 3 medals can be your 21% medals, you have 63%, and then your friend medal, 84%. If you do 3 7%, at 21%, plus a 21% medal, 42%, and your main damage dealer is going to do a ton of damage. Worst case scenario, you have to use 2 Vivis, 1 here and 1 here to get this guy times 6. or you can use nominate, or you can use key art to copy it, whatever you guys gotta do. But the best situation is get extra attack on here, and this will change your game completely. Now let's talk about Vivi. If he wasn't extra attack, like let's say I end this and I guilt this guy and Vivi doesn't get extra attack, he's still a good medal. If you don't have any ×3 buffers like the illustrated rocks as I showed you, he will replace all of that for you. You guys can also do setups where you had one Vivi over there and then another Vivi over there, and kind of separate your attacks. Like, let me just grab another Vivi. So let's say I have a Vivi here. This Vivi will buff this one, and then I can use this and buff this one and buff this one. So technically you guys can do that if you have a Keyblade where there's a bunch of good Keyblade slots. Like Stroke of Midnight has a 2.2, a 2.1, so putting a Vivi over here will buff these two, put another Vivi over here will buff these two, and then that will carry over to the next one. So you guys can really use 2 Vivis for a lot of situations. But that's most of them. Once I guilt the Vivi, if I get extra attack, I'll make another spotlight video showing you setups specifically for extra attack and how powerful it can be. But there is so much possibilities when it comes to illustrated Vivi that can really change your place in Coliseum, high score challenges, and just overall quests. Because what I showed you guys right here, this can literally, especially if you guys have medals that have like AoE damage. So where is it? Marluxia B. I'm just gonna use that as an example. You put that there. These two right here can almost complete all the story except for like the bosses, and that might even be possible if you use the right medal. Like, you guys can do that on single target enemies or anything that you have high tier. It also goes for other Keyblades like Sleeping Lion, Key Art 9, and one Vivi over here, something like that. That can also do it as well. If there's a Key Art 9, you have that. You can get away with just 2 medals on a Keyblade and complete so much because of the buffs and strength buff. A tribute buff and strength buff. One medal will take care of one medal, and a lot of that lets you pass a whole bunch of content. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover for now. If I missed anything, put it in the comment section. I know there's so much more to it, but Vivi is a really good medal, but it's not a medal that everybody needs. A lot of people can skip it. 0.2 Kairi is gonna replace it quite a bit, especially if you don't get extra attack on Vivi. 0.2 Kairi is gonna replace this Vivi easily. So don't worry too much that you're not buying this VIP. It's like early access to medals are going to be coming out, so you don't technically need it. It's just nice if you get it. And honestly, I love Vivi as a character. It's like one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters as well. Vivi, his whole thing is just amazing. So to end off this video, I'm going to do my 4th poll, if I'm counting properly. I didn't forget, and hopefully I can end this off in a good note. So enjoy your Vivi, guys. There's so many possibilities. Once I guilt it, I'll let you know more. And also, if I get extra attack, it's a reverse. Please, Cena, just be nice to me. 4 polls. Oh, I'm so nervous. Another Sephiroth. Sephiroth, are you kidding me? 1 video, 2 Sephiroth polls, guys. I don't know what to say. Let's see if I can even guilt this guy. I'm not going to do it. I just want to check. And tribute. Okay, so 2, 4, 5, I don't even have enough to guilt him. What a troll. What a troll. Oh, man. Alright, so 2, 4, 5, 6. Awesome, awesome medal when it came out. Still a very good medal. It's just not what I wanted at the moment. But as always, that's the whole video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll see you in the next one.